Bombshell new interview. Actor Alec Baldwin claims he did not pull the trigger of the gun that killed cinematographer Halyna Hutchins when it went off during a film shoot in New Mexico in October. Instead, Baldwin says the gun went off when he pulled and released its hammer. We're joined right now by Steve Wolf, a film weapons expert. Thank you so much, Steve, for being with us. So the big question is that we're trying to figure out, can a gun fire when you don't actually physically pull the trigger?
Well, that's a great question, and I would like to answer that for you. A gun like a period piece, this is exactly the same gun that they used on this set, can be fired in two different ways. One, you can pull the hammer back and then press the trigger, which if you watch closely, you'll see is a very minute act that an actor might not be aware that he had done. Or you could be drawing this gun with your finger on the trigger, having depressed the trigger, so you're maintaining this constant pressure on it where you don't feel like I pulled the trigger because you're already maintaining pressure. And then when you cock this gun, if your finger is still on the trigger and you release it, the gun will fire. And this sounds consistent with what he's describing because he doesn't remember pressing the trigger. So if he already had his finger on it and he pulled the hammer back and then released it, it would have fired.
Even without the intention or without the real conscious knowing that he had actually pulled the trigger inadvertently.
That's right. But what he was conscious of, because he discussed it, was that he was pointing the gun at someone. And for some reason, he's created this fifth phantom rule of gun safety. Never point a gun at anyone you don't want to destroy unless they're a cinematographer telling you to do it. That is not a gun safety rule. That's made up. And Mr. Baldwin described very clearly what it looks like when you're working with a professional armorer. He said, I've worked with these old guys back in the day. You know, they would come on the set. They show everyone the gun. They open the gun. They show everyone there's nothing inside. They show you what they're putting in it. They load the ammo. They hand it to the actor. If the actor takes it and manipulates the gun, the armorer comes back and says, don't do that. Let me check it again. I'm not letting an actor be the last line of defense in protecting the crew. Well, if none of that was being done on the set, if his armor wasn't even there, then he knew that things weren't being handled properly because he'd experienced the difference. And when he says that he and Miss Hutchins both believed, he said, we shared a common belief that the gun was empty. Why would they believe that when neither of them looked in the gun and they were taking the gun from someone who had no firearms experience?
Well, and you're talking about, right? Are you talking about the AD who handled the gun, or the armorer who was young and maybe not as experienced as someone like you?
No, the AD is the one who handled the gun right before Alec. And it's the armorer's job to have the gun, to check the gun, give the gun to the actor, take the gun back, put the gun back in the safe. It's not the AD's job. And I can't believe that Mr. Baldwin, with his vast experience, didn't know the difference between an AD and an armorer and should have known which one of them is supposed to be handling the gun, which one of them is supposed to know how to check it. So Mr. Hall's yelling out cold gun, that means as much as, you know, the guy who changes the toilet paper yelling out cold gun. Who cares what he thinks? He's not an armorer. So in your, and I can recognize the frustration that you have with all of your years' experience. The typical protocol would have been that the armorer handed Alec the gun and actually checked the gun's barrel, checked to see if what was inside, because blanks were supposed to be inside. Would that armorer would they have explained to him exactly what was inside as far as ammunition? Yes, they would not necessarily have checked the barrel, but they would have checked the chambers. They would have inspected the chambers to make sure that there was nothing in there first. And then whatever is supposed to be in there, they would check that to make sure that it's not live ammo, that it was either a dummy round or a blank. And then they would load that in front of everyone. And if you watch it done in front of your own eyes, then you have a basis for saying we believed that the gun was clear, the gun was closed or cold. But just because, you know, Dave Halls says it, that means nothing, and everyone should have known that. Steve, thank you so much. Steve Wolf, expert in film, prop guns, and armory. Thank you again for being with us today. Thanks so much. Well, we have another guest. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.